After drawing the first 9 games, Magnus Carlsen regains his confidence and by winning in the last 2 rounds, gets a chance to play a playoff match against Chinese chess grandmaster Ding Liren. Hello chess lovers, Suren here, and in this video I want to share with you an interesting game played by the reigning world chess champion Magnus Carlsen against French chess grandmaster Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. This game was played in the last round of 2019 Sinquefield Cup, and now without further ado, let's get started with this fascinating game and see what happened on the board. MVL, who was playing with white pieces, opened up with e4 and Carlsen responded with his beloved Sicilian defense c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. We have the Nezhmetdinov-Rossolimo attack and g6. Carlsen is choosing the Fianchetto variation, bishop takes c6, b takes c6. In here the main move is castling kingside, but in our game we have d4, c takes d4, queen takes d4. By recapturing on d4 with the queen, White is like forcing Black to go for this awkward looking f6 move, and Black is actually getting a somewhat unpleasant pawn structure, but still there's nothing wrong with Black's position, it still stands solid. d6 by Carlsen, c4, c5. He's kicking away the queen from that active diagonal and then is fianchettoing his kingside bishop, b3, knight h6, knight c3 and rook b8. Well, Black wants to castle kingside, but going for castling kingside straight away is not possible because of this queen d5 check, and your rook will disappear. That's why after knight c3 Carlsen first played rook b8, and only after bishop d2 castled kingside, rook e1, knight f7. Well, if we have a look at the position, this bishop's diagonal is blocked, and also the knight is placed somewhat unnaturally, but all in all, yes, Black's position is still very solid. It's not quite clear how White can make his position better. Here MVL decided to go for h4 and try to start an attack on the king side, but as Carlsen said after the game, he was happy to see h4, h5 stuff. Then Carlsen added, I thought he should aim for f4 instead. But in our game we have h4, to which Carlsen responded with rook b7, h5 and g5. Yes, Carlsen is trying to keep the king side closed. Knight h2, knight e5 and queen g3. Already at this point White wants to go for f4. That's why Carlsen moved away his king from the dangerous g file, and also he's freeing this g8 square for his rook. f4 by MVL, g takes f4, bishop takes f4 and rook g8. By going for f4, White like opened up this g file for Black, and now gradually Black is starting to get a very pleasant position. Here we have rook e3, knight c6, queen f2 and f5. Carlsen is opening up the dark squared bishop's diagonal. Already bishop d4 can be a threat, and MVL played knight f3. But it turns out that this is a total blunder. After the game Carlsen said, I couldn't believe my eyes. Well, instead of playing knight f3, it was better to go for e takes f5. Now if bishop d4 then knight f3. Yes, White is going for an exchange sacrifice, but in return is getting a pretty nice counterplay. I really like this knight e5 move. Probably this was a move which MVL overlooked, and then White is starting to exploit the weakness of the long diagonal, and in the end of the day, White has a more preferable position. But in our game after f5, we have knight f3. MVL acted against bishop d4 threat, but now after bishop takes c3, rook takes c3, this e-pawn is marching forward, and now it's White who is in trouble. The thing is that now if you move away your bishop, then Black can play f4, and already there are some very nasty threats like bishop h3, or Black can also double up his rooks on the g file, and this is going to be catastrophic for White. In our game after e5, MVL played rook d3 in order to try to exploit the weakness of the long diagonal later, but Carlsen cold-heartedly won the bishop, inviting this queen b2 check, and then covered his king with the rook on the 7th rank. This rook was just in time, right guys? The way Carlsen is managing to put his pieces on the most useful squares is simply astounding. h6, well, a very nasty pin, but in return black has a nice counterplay. F takes e4, rook d2, e takes f3, there it goes, another piece drops. Against the rook, black got 2 minor pieces and a pawn and a very nice position. Rook f2, knight d4. This is just a brilliant outpost for the knight. Rook takes f4, bishop f5, b4, bishop e6, rook f8 check, and then we have bishop g8. Black's position is super solid and there is nothing white can do. While on the other hand, now it will be Magnus Carlsen who will start harassing white king. Queen c1 check, king h2, queen g5. In here we have queen d5, but of course Carlsen won't go for the exchange of queens. He keeps on finding vulnerable squares. There it goes. We have queen e3, a nasty pin, queen h4, and this time the knight jumps into the attack. Knight e2 check, king h1, queen c1 check. Now you can't move your king because very quickly you can get checkmated. That's why after queen c1 check, MVL covered his king with the rook, but he stepped into this knight g3 check, and after king g1, queen e3 check, MVL resigned. Now if king h2, then simply knight takes f2, or if we move like rook f2, then queen e1 check is coming, and if rook f1, then knight e2 check, followed by queen takes h4 checkmate. A nice discovered attack, right? You're announcing a check, attacking this queen and announcing a checkmate. That's why after, what is that, queen e3 on move 44, after queen e3 check, MVL resigned. A nice game by Magnus Carlsen. As you noticed from the opening, he didn't get a promising position, but the way he managed to activate his pieces, create a counterplay, was simply astounding, and in the end of the day it was black who was victorious. Well, in the end, let's also solve a chess puzzle. Please take a look at this position and try to find a winning move for white. It's white to move, and I will wait for your answer in the comment section. Thanks for watching. In the end, here are more suggestions for you. Feel free to check them out as well. I will see you in my next video. Take care.